The story begins with a unique village in America, located deep within a forest. The people living there never stepped outside the village. And there was only one reason for that: the forest surrounding the village was inhabited by dangerous creatures and monsters, beings with bodies that were half human and half animal. Because of the fear of these terrifying creatures, the villagers had become prisoners within their own home. Many of them had built high barbed wire walls around the village to ensure nothing could enter. Everyone's life in the village was filled with fear. A constant worry haunted them, that one day those creatures might enter the village and devour them all. To protect themselves, guards were stationed at the perimeter to raise the alarm if an attack occurred. Inside the village, we are shown a man whose young son had fallen gravely ill. But the villagers were helpless. They couldn't take the boy outside the village for treatment. So a decision was made to treat the child within the village itself, something that was nearly impossible due to the lack of proper medical equipment. Tragically, the boy died. The entire village mourned the loss deeply. The boy's father sat at his grave, crying bitterly. He was consumed by guilt. If only he had taken his son to the city, perhaps he would still be alive. But out of fear of the monsters, he couldn't save him. The next evening, all the villagers were having dinner together when terrifying sounds began echoing from the dense forest. The sounds were so frightening that even the bravest among them were scared. Everyone knew these sounds belonged to those fearsome creatures. Among the villagers, there was a madman who began laughing upon hearing the noise. He had no idea what kind of danger lurked beyond the woods. The villagers raised many animals, gradually increasing their number to ensure a steady supply of meat. They also used to throw some of that meat into the forest, hoping the creatures would eat it and not feel the need to enter the village. In this way, the villagers had established schools and animal shelters within their walled settlement. We are then shown two women working as part of their daily routine. Suddenly, they noticed a red flower among the grass. The moment they saw it, they were filled with fear. Quickly, they went over, plucked the flower, and buried it deep in the ground, revealing to us that the villagers were extremely afraid of the color red. The dangerous creatures, half human, half animal, wore red-colored cloth on their bodies. Now, we are introduced to a professor who, as usual, was on his way to the school. On the way, he noticed a group of children who were poking at something. When the professor went closer, he discovered that it was an animal whose entire skin had been removed. He couldn't figure out who or what had done it. For the time being, the professor asked all the children to go inside the school and resumed his class. During the lesson, the children began asking the professor if that animal had been attacked by the terrifying creatures that lived in the forest. But the professor assured them that those dangerous monsters couldn't enter the village, so there was no need to be afraid. He suggested that perhaps a fox or a wolf was responsible for the attack. The children felt reassured by his explanation. Next, we see a large group of villagers gathered for a discussion and to make some decisions. During this meeting, a man named Dr. Tramp entered. He was asking the villagers for permission to go outside the village so he could bring back better medicines and equipment. He argued that due to the lack of these resources, the man's child had died, and if better medical care wasn't brought in, more deaths would follow. After much deliberation, the villagers decided that going outside the village was too risky. There was also the fear that if the barrier was breached, the man-eating monsters might invade the village. So, Dr. Tramp's proposal was rejected. That night, it was Tramp's friend's turn to be on guard duty. Tramp came by to chat with him for a while. He casually asked if his friend had ever wanted to leave the village, wondering what kind of world might exist beyond it. But his friend firmly responded that their elders had warned them that deadly creatures existed beyond the perimeter. At least within the village, they were alive, and that was enough for him. The next day, a wave of shock ran through the village. Many of their animals had been killed, their skin removed by some unknown entity. Because of all these incidents, another village meeting was held. Many people believed that the dangerous creatures from the forest were responsible for killing the animals. However, the senior members of the village insisted that it wasn't possible for the creatures to enter. If they had, everyone would have known, because the creatures were enormous in size. They reasoned it must have been the work of a fox or some other small animal, so there was no need to worry. Still, to reassure the villagers, the perimeter barriers around the village were inspected to check whether anything had been broken or breached. Then we are shown the professor's elder daughter, who comes to her father and confesses that she has fallen in love with Dr. Tramp and wants to marry him. Her father asks if Dr. Tramp feels the same way. She replies that she hasn't proposed to him yet, but plans to do so today. She goes directly to Dr. Tramp and confesses her feelings. But Tramp clearly rejects her. He says he's not interested in marriage at the moment, and, more importantly, he loves someone else from the village. Heartbroken by the rejection, the professor's daughter returns home and breaks down in tears. She couldn't handle the pain of being rejected. Next, we see the same mad boy who is often seen laughing without reason. He arrives to meet Dr. Tramp along with a girl named Ivy. Ivy, it turns out, is none other than the professor's younger daughter. She was fully aware that her elder sister had just been rejected by Tramp. Ivy and the mad boy begin talking to Tramp, and during their conversation, Tramp notices a red-colored fruit in the boy's hand. He's shocked and confused. Where could the boy have found something red? The villagers believed that anything red would attract the dangerous creatures, so red-colored objects were strictly forbidden inside the village. When asked, the boy casually mentions that he found the fruit deep inside the forest. Tramp takes note of this very seriously. The next day, another meeting of the village's senior members is held, and this time, Tramp steps forward to share something important with them. Tramp tells everyone that the mad boy had a red-colored fruit in his hand, which he had collected from deep inside the forest, meaning the boy had crossed to the other side of the forest and yet the dangerous creatures did nothing to him. This clearly showed that perhaps the creatures weren't as dangerous as everyone feared. So once again, Tramp asks for permission to go outside the village to bring back advanced medicines from the city. But even after presenting this reasoning, no one agrees to let him go beyond the village limits. Tramp becomes extremely frustrated. When he returns home to his mother, he is in tears. He tells her that he only wants to go out to get medicines and help the villagers so that no more lives are lost. He can't understand why the villagers are denying him this. That's when his mother finally reveals the truth. Years ago, Tramp's father had also tried to leave the village in a similar way. But along the way, he was captured by bandits who stole all his belongings and threw his body into the sea. In other words, the world outside the village was brutal and merciless, a place where innocent people like them could be crushed in an instant. And since Tramp was her only son, she couldn't bear the thought of losing him too. Tramp now understood everything his mother was saying. But then his eyes fell on a black box in their house. He remembered seeing the same kind of box in the home of the man whose son had recently died. When he asked his mother what was inside the black box, she told him that opening it would go against the rules of the village, and so it had to remain a secret between them. The next day, still full of confusion, Tramp wandered toward the forest. After walking for some time, he spotted the same red fruits the mad boy had brought back. As Tramp was gathering the fruits, we see that, a short distance away, someone wearing red cloth was watching him. But that person, or creature, did not attack Tramp. Tramp hurried back to the village and told Ivy everything, how he had entered the forest and what he had seen. Ivy tried to stop him, warning that this could all be very dangerous. But Tramp tried to convince her that if he could bring back proper medicines, no more people would die in the village from illness. He insisted that he was doing this for the good of everyone. Ivy began to understand Tramp's feelings. But Ivy stops Tramp from going into the forest. She tells him that her sister's marriage is already fixed with someone else, and now it's her turn to get married. That means whoever wants to marry her can come and ask for her hand. Saying this shyly, Ivy goes inside her house. Now we see Tramp's friend who is standing guard at the very edge of the forest. Suddenly, he hears some noises from below. When he looks closely, he sees the same red-colored dangerous creatures approaching, slowly advancing toward the village. Tramp's friend quickly rings the alarm bell to alert everyone that the monsters are coming toward the village. The loud ringing makes all the villagers understand what's happening, and they start running inside their homes. But Dr. Tramp doesn't go inside. Instead, he hides on the side, wanting to see what the creatures actually look like. These creatures had sharp spikes on their backs and very long arms. Meanwhile, Ivy still has her door open, waiting for Tramp, because deep inside, she loves him and hopes he will become her husband. But she doesn't realize that one of the creatures is now heading straight toward her. When Tramp sees this, he immediately runs to her. Just in time, he grabs Ivy's hand and pulls her inside the house. They both rush down into the bunker and hide there. Within minutes, the creature leaves the area. By morning, when everyone comes out, they see red paint on their doors. This is a clear warning from the creatures, stay out of the forest. Once again, the senior village members hold a meeting. They ask, who went into the forest that provoked these monsters? Dr. Tramp stands up and admits his mistake. He explains that he had no intention of provoking the creatures, but he had indeed entered the forest. Although Tramp had made a serious mistake, he had the courage to confess and apologize. The elders forgive him, but also warn him never to repeat such a mistake again, because it could cost many lives. Now we see the wedding scene of Ivy's older sister. The whole village is celebrating together. Ivy's entire family is very happy. Now, only Ivy is left to be married. As everyone is enjoying the celebration, suddenly, a woman's scream is heard coming from deep within the forest. All the villagers immediately became alert and rushed toward their homes. Then they discovered that many of their animals had been killed and hung up, and it was clear that only those terrifying creatures could have done this. So, everyone quickly went into the underground bunkers inside their homes to hide. But Dr. Tramp once again made a bold decision. He refused to go inside. Instead, he went and sat right outside Ivy's house. When Ivy noticed Tramp sitting there, she came outside and sat beside him. She asked, "What are you doing in front of my house?" To this, Tramp replied, "I want to protect you. If one of those dangerous creatures comes here, I'll fight it off to keep you safe." And then, Tramp finally confessed his love to Ivy. He had loved her all along, not her older sister. That's why he had rejected her sister's proposal. Ivy, who also had feelings for Tramp, felt deeply moved. The two grew very close to each other that night. By the next day, everyone in the village had heard about it. Tramp's mother decided that, since they loved each other, it would be best to go ahead and arrange their marriage, so that the two hearts could be united. But when the mentally unstable boy, who often spent most of his time with Ivy, found out, he was devastated. He began to feel that if Ivy married Tramp, she would no longer spend time with him, and their bond would fade away. This fear drove him to a very dangerous decision. He went straight to Dr. Tramp and, using a knife, stabbed him in the stomach. Tramp was severely injured. Blood was pouring from his wound. The mad boy thought, if Tramp is gone, Ivy won't marry him, and she won't go away from me. Then, the boy smeared Tramp's blood on his hands and started running around the village showing everyone. The villagers were horrified and began searching to find out who he had hurt. After some investigation, it was revealed that he had stabbed Dr. Tramp, who was now bleeding heavily. When Ivy heard about it, she was heartbroken and burst into tears. Quickly, a doctor from a nearby village was called in to treat Tramp. But Ivy and everyone else knew that their village didn't have the kind of advanced medical facilities or enough medicines to save Tramp. The visiting doctor cleaned and bandaged the wound, but he warned them. Because Tramp has lost so much blood, his chances of survival are very low. Ivy now makes a firm decision. No matter what, she will go outside the village to the city and get advanced medicines, hoping to save Tramp's life. Even if the creatures in the jungle kill her on the way, she considers that a worthy fate, because it would be for Tramp's life. The doctor too had given up by now. He said, "I've done all I can, only advanced medicine can save him now, and that doesn't exist in our village." By this point, Ivy had turned against all the villagers, openly declaring that she would go to the other side of the jungle. Her father tried his best to stop her, pleading, "Don't do this. Your grandfather made the same mistake, and he never returned." Her father was terrified of losing her. But Ivy explained that she truly loved Tramp, and he was the first person who had been willing to risk his life for her. Now that her chance had come, she wouldn't back down. So, Ivy set off to leave the village, heading into the forest, joined by a few others. They all wore yellow-colored cloaks as they ventured into the woods. But soon, as they moved further in, they began hearing sounds, and they were unmistakably the same terrifying noises of the so-called creatures. Everyone, except Ivy, became so scared that they turned and ran back toward the village, leaving her all alone. Now, Ivy was completely alone in that dark, eerie forest. She had no idea which direction to go and found herself stopping by a tree, completely confused. That's when she remembered something her father had told her before she left. In an effort to remove her fear, he had taken her to the storeroom, where he had shown her the skin of one of those creatures. It wasn't real, it was part human, part beast, just a scare dummy. Her father had explained that the creature was never real. It was all a setup, created by the village elders, who had conspired to keep everyone from leaving the village. Because the outside world was cruel and merciless, and they feared the villagers would never survive it. So, the whole legend of the creatures was just a lie, a long-standing village myth designed to control people through fear. When Ivy asked, "But where did those terrifying noises come from? And who's killing the animals in such horrific ways?" her father confessed. "We did all of that, to keep the fear alive. We made the sounds. We killed our own animals and hung them. All of it was a manipulation, to stop people from leaving." Now that Ivy knew the truth, she was no longer afraid. Reinvigorated, she began walking confidently toward the outside world, leaving behind the shadows of superstition and fear. Ivy continued moving deeper into the forest. At one point, she even fell into a deep pit, but showing courage, she managed to find a way out. But soon, she started hearing those same chilling screams of the creatures again. And to her horror, Ivy realized that right behind her stood one of those terrifying creatures, draped in a red cloak. She was confused, but didn't my father say these creatures don't exist? Then what is this? Panicked, Ivy began hiding behind trees, trying not to make a sound. But by then, the creature had already spotted her, and it began chasing her aggressively. Its body was covered in sharp, thorn-like spikes, making it look even more dangerous. Ivy kept running until she reached a sharp, sharp-pointed tree, and at just the right moment, she dodged to the side. The creature, unable to stop in time, ran straight into the sharp branch, and was impaled and killed on the spot. Ivy had used her intelligence and instincts to eliminate the threat. Back in the village, people began blaming Ivy's father, asking why he let her go into the jungle. After all, it was a collective village decision that no one should break the rule and go outside. Ivy's father now decided it was time to tell everyone the truth. He stood up and revealed everything. Many years ago, my father was killed by bandits outside the village, just for money. But it wasn't just him. During those times, many of our people were murdered for wealth and greed. So we all gathered and asked ourselves, why are these criminals attacking us? The answer was simple: money and fame. These cruel people could do anything for wealth. Taking lives was just a game to them. That's when we decided to build a village where no one would possess wealth, and everyone would live off natural resources. We made a strict rule: no one leaves the village. But we knew, one day, our children would grow curious and question the world outside. So, to prevent that, we created the story of the creatures, to instill fear and keep people inside the village. He went on to explain how the senior villagers created creature costumes and planned the entire setup so convincingly that everyone believed dangerous monsters lived beyond the village borders, and if anyone left, they would be killed. And that lie had been upheld for generations. Each house in the village had a black box, which didn't contain valuables, but rather memories, reminders of life before the village was formed. Now, we are shown the home of the Mad Boy. When his parents return home, they find their black box open, and the creature costume inside it missing. The shocking truth is revealed: the Mad Boy had worn the creature's costume and gone into the forest to scare Ivy. But Ivy, thinking it was a real creature, killed him in self-defense. The boy had never imagined that his prank would cost him his life. So the one who attacked Ivy in the forest wasn't a real creature, it was him, and he met a tragic and brutal end. Ivy somehow made it through the forest and finally reached the highway, where she spotted a police officer. She ran up to him and explained that there was an emergency. She urgently needed some medicines for patients in a hidden village deep inside the forest. At first, the officer was skeptical. Could people really be living in such a remote forest? But seeing the urgency and desperation, he gave her the medicines. Ivy quickly made her way back through the forest and returned to the village, determined to save her beloved doctor. She told everyone how she had crossed the jungle, found the medicines, and even encountered a creature, but somehow managed to kill it. At that moment, the Mad Boy's parents realized that the creature Ivy encountered was their son. But Ivy's father gently told them, whatever happened, it happened for the best. Now, most of the villagers genuinely started believing that real creatures did live in the forest. Even Ivy, not knowing the full truth, believed it too. Thanks to the medicines, the beloved doctor was saved. Ivy's love had not gone in vain. And after that, no one in the village ever felt the need to go outside again. And that brings our story to an end.